So today we're going to be talking about a couple different things. So we're going to be talking about how, really when it comes down to it, especially Donald Trump, he hates free speech. He does. He truly hates it. And we're going to break down a lot of the specifics around why he hates free speech. And I want to start off with this. This happened a little bit recently, but I still want to cover it yet once again, because this is a great intro story into this exact thing. So a few days ago, this was back on March 19th, which I think it was like the later part of last week. It's only free speech if you agree with them. And excuse me, the green screen is being wonky behind me. I'm in my car because I always do my live streams in my car. I love all of you. If you're a new viewer, say hello and where you're tuning in from. I like to get to know new people. Ginger Monster, hello. How's it going? Kate, hello. So, okay, we got our TikTok friends coming in. So, it's only free speech if you agree with them, says AOC about a Republican-only town hall. The fact is, we work for everybody. If Republican politicians can't get that we work for the public, then the public should give them the boot. Akicha, hello. So, I want to, let's dive into this a little bit further. You all may have heard about this, but I want to break it down because this is a great intro. This is a great segue into our discussion around Donald Trump and how he hates free speech. And particularly how conservatives can't handle speech that doesn't agree with them. There's a difference between being angry and upset at speech that you disagree with and trying to get rid of it, trying to deplatform it, trying to eliminate people from saying it. So we're going to start off with this here. Breaking. U.S. Representative Andy Biggs is hosting an open town hall tonight, and they'll be checking party affiliation at the door. No Democrats or independents will be allowed inside. And you're like, wait, what? Yes. They literally had a town hall, advertised a town hall, and said, we're going to be checking your party registration at the door. Why are you advocating and advertising something as a town hall when then you actually screen people? It's not really a town hall, it's more of like a Republican fundraiser. Like, you can't claim something is a town hall for the public to weigh in on and then only allow certain people inside. I mean, just think if this was actually limited by race. Just be like, oh, well, you're a person of color, not allowed inside. That's what it's giving. So it's basically limiting the people who are in that district that don't have a Republican registration, like they're not registered as a Republican, from actually being able to speak. So if you all may have heard of this, this was a while ago. This is back on March 18th. Please be advised that tonight's town hall is a private event. I have been reminded that only members of the Republican Party will be admitted into the venue. Why is it that then it was always advertised as a town hall? So this is a great segue into this here. And I am going to get out my little hands. Also, I'm going to be leaning more into doing YouTube lives this week in particular because the reason why I'm doing more YouTube lives this week is I was reporting on a protest, a Tesla peaceful protest happening here in North Carolina over the weekend. And I was doing a YouTube live stream. I was interviewing people that were protesting. And I got on the tickety talk. And this is why people are more and more upset and frustrated with TikTok, and they're fleeing to other platforms. Because that app, I hate to say it, but TikTok is becoming the new X. It's becoming the new Twitter. It is absolutely plummeting downhill. It is not the same that it used to be back in like 2022 when it was at the height of TikTok. I mean, it's going downhill so fast. A lot of social media outlets are owned by even like right-leaning figures. That's a whole nother thing. But let's talk about free speech. So if you're a new person in here, say hello and where you're tuning in from. And also, if you are from TikTok, then just say that you're from TikTok. And if you are from YouTube, say that you are from YouTube. Yeah, TikTok is not the same anymore. Mr. Beef loves you. Oh my goodness, who's Mr. Beef? I'm just reading, I'm seeing, good morning from Chicago, Mr. Beef loves you. Well, let me tell you, I do like beef. I like beef. So, let's talk about it. Trump does not like free speech. Exhibit A. So, let me just do it with my little Trump hands, okay? To Republicans, conservatives, and all great Americans, Elon Musk, my boyfriend, my brother-in-law, I mean, maybe, let me tell you, maybe he's my man-child, we'll see. Elon Musk, my lover, my ultimate lover, is putting it all on the line in order to help our nation. He's doing a fantastic job. But the radical left lunatics, as they often do, are trying to illegally and collusively boycott Tesla. Okay, pause. Is there such a thing as an illegal boycott? No. No. It was not illegal for conservatives to boycott Target because they saw a rainbow flag, like, tumbler. Does that make it silly? Yes. But is it illegal to boycott it? No. So why are people... So why would a Tesla protest be illegal? It's not. But you like to claim something is illegal if you don't like it. And that leads us perfectly into this idea that Republicans cannot stand, conservatives, Donald Trump cannot stand any sort of modicum of free speech if it doesn't align with what they like or what they want. And there's a difference. And we're going to get to this very crucial difference. There's a huge difference between being canceled, being criticized, being condemned, being called out, and being deplatformed, being suppressed, not being able to speak. There is a difference between those two things, and we're going to be highlighting that difference. So I wanted to start with this and that example because here we go. Donald Trump, our current president, or I guess president, he is our president, but Elon Musk really calls the shots, is advocating for different news networks like 60 Minutes or CBS or ABC to have their licenses revoked. Now, I don't personally watch a lot of network news like CBS, ABC. I don't. I have my critiques of them. I definitely have my critiques of Fox News, which, by the way, they're a news network that was sued for defamation, which is literally professionally lying. If anything that causes you to be deplatformed, it's not for sharing an opinion. It should be more about spreading misinformation, but that's a whole nother thing. If you're enjoying the live stream, please make sure to send some likes. I'm seeing some of my TikTok friends in here, so hello! Hello! Hi, Scott, YouTube only for me. Love the show. Oh, thank you. It's only free speech if I want to hear it. Exactly. I love you. Stop asking. Exactly. So, I'm seeing some TikTok friends in here. So to all my TikTok friends, meet my other YouTube friends. I love all of you. Let's all be friends. Let's all be friends. Most people on TikTok know, but the reason why I'm doing more YouTube live streams is because I got banned for a week. I got banned for a week for accurately reporting on a Tesla protest. This is what happens when you try to be a reputable journalist. And this is also why you see a lot of journalists start pivoting right, because it allows them to actually build themselves up way faster and way easier. You heard me right. So you can see in here how Donald Trump is literally advocating for certain media organizations to have their licenses revoked. That is a suppression of free speech. If you are a media organization and you share an opinion, that's one thing. If you spread misinformation, then that is a bigger problem. If let's say that Democrats were to try and revoke Newsmax, OANN, Tucker Carlson, or any sort of right-wing leaning network, oh, we're going to revoke them because of what they have to say, their opinions. No, they didn't try to go after them based on their opinions. They say, hey, look, you're spreading misinformation about the 2020 election, about medicine and the COVID vaccine. There's a difference between trying to suppress something based on the objective facts, information that is there, and trying to suppress someone based on their opinion. And freedom of speech, it can be a double-edged sword, and we're going to talk all about that. So let's dive a little bit further into this. So Donald Trump calls again for CBS to lose its license, 60 Minutes to be terminated in an early morning rage post. And it's not that one. It is this one right here. CBS should lose its license, and the cheaters at 60 Minutes should be thrown out, and this disreputable news show should be immediately terminated. Now, this is just absolutely crazy. Calling for different news networks to be deplatformed. You know what it's giving? Let me just do a tiny brief history lesson. Do you all remember the Alien and Sedition Acts? Do you all remember the Alien and Sedition Acts? This was a time in American history where the government that was under the control of the Federalists, they were an older political party, the Federalists actually legislated that you could not criticize the government. If you remember the Alien and Sedition Acts, then just type yes in the comments. If not, we're going to do a brief little overview of this. If you had not learned anything today, I encourage you go and look up the Alien and Sedition Acts. I know, oh my gosh, a history lesson. No, but I promise this is so relevant for today. You all remember the Alien and Sedition Acts? I see a couple people in here saying yes. The Alien and Sedition Acts, broadly, what it did was it basically said that if you are to print, utter, publish any false, scandalous, malicious writing against the government, that's illegal. Now, let's look at this. If you publish anything that is scandalous or malicious, those are very subjective terms. If you print or publish anything that the government doesn't like, then you are that's illegal. You know, that's exactly the same tactics, the same suppression, the same things that America fought against when they were fighting for independence from England. So at the founding of the American government, they went through and they were like, oh, we're going to have all this freedom and all this stuff. And then they went through and did exactly what they were supposedly condemning in passing these Sedition Acts. Now, this was passed under the Federalist Congress. Back then, we didn't have Democrats, Republicans. There were the Federalists and then the Anti-Federalists, or often known as the Democratic Republicans. So don't think of it as Democrat Republican in this scenario. There were two different political parties back then. So the Federalist Congress passed the Alien and Sedition Acts. John Adams was the president, and basically it was saying that this act criminalized false, scandalous, and malicious writings or utterances about the government, the president, or Congress. Now, the reason I bring this up is because Donald Trump claiming that he wants to deplatform news networks that publish, that write, that hold accountable, that talk about things that he doesn't like, it's very much giving the Alien and Sedition Acts. The government can't go through, but throughout history, the government can't just go through and violate people's First Amendment rights. But that's exactly what Donald Trump is trying to do. And he's not just stopping at rhetoric. He is full-throated going for it. I can't believe I just said full-throated. He is absolutely going for it. Let me give you an example here. Trump is literally trying to go after law firms and deplatform them, make them lose excessive amounts of business if they file what he calls frivolous lawsuits against his administration. Critics call the move autocratic, authoritarian, hypocritical, noting that Trump's lawyers have made a myriad of false legal claims, including that he won the 2020 election. Now, there's a difference. There's a difference between spreading misinformation and sharing an opinion. You and I can, it's very, very valid to share an opinion. Now, there's a difference between facts and opinions. Now, if I am a news network and I'm sharing information that is blatantly false, blatantly wrong, like the 2020 election being stolen, that is misinformation. Misinformation is not an opinion. My opinion is that Pineapple on pizza is delicious. That is not a fact. That is an opinion. Like, if for anyone that tries to make something that is opinion into a fact, those are the real grifters. My opinions about stuff are not fact. My opinions on stuff are not fact. Your opinions on stuff are not fact. It's important to distinguish that. Now, for news networks, if they publish misleading, unfactual stuff, then that is worth a lawsuit. If you publish something that is opinion and you claim it as opinion, then that's different. But when a news network publishes something that you don't like, and you, as if it's an opinion, you try to take it down, that's seen as literally trying to suppress that network. That's going against holding accountable the powerful. That's giving the Alien and Sedition Acts. So, the Alien and Sedition Acts, no protesting the government, no immigrants allowed in, no freedom of the press, lawmakers vilified. Is this the story of the Soviet Union during the Cold War? No. No, it is the story of, it's the story of the United States in 1798 after the passage of the Alien and Sedition Acts in Congress. The strong steps that President Adams, a Federalist, took in response to the French foreign threat also included severe repression of domestic protests. Huh, that's interesting. A series of laws, collectively known as the Alien and Sedition Acts, were passed by the Federalist Congress in 1798. Again, the Federalists were just a certain party. Don't think of it as Democrat, Republican. Think of it as Federalists versus the Democratic Republicans. Cool. Also, please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you in here. If you're enjoying the live stream, this is your first time seeing me. My name is Scott. I am a political news journalist. I am here to inform you, not to indoctrinate you or anything like that, like a lot of people in independent media. I'm here to give you just raw information. I will share my opinion. You can disagree, but something that is not up for debate are just the raw facts, the raw figures, the raw data, the historical context, period. So, I appreciate every single one of you. Please keep it civil in the chat. Don't be obnoxious. Just letting you all know. I know many of you are from TikTok because, you know, that app, as soon as you report on one Tesla protest, they ban you for a week. So that's fun. I love all of you so much. Shout out to all my TikTok friends that are coming here. Shout out to all my YouTube friends who have always been here. I'm so honored to be here in this space with you all. So, a series of laws, collectively known as the Alien and Sedition Acts, were passed by the Federalist Congress in 1798, and it was signed into law by President Adams. These laws included new powers to deport foreigners, interesting, as well as making it harder for new immigrants to vote. Previously, a new immigrant would have to reside in the United States for 5 years before becoming eligible to vote, but a new law raised this to 14 years. Put this in context, this was at the founding, shortly after the founding of America as this new country. So there were a lot of people moving to this new country. The Federalists were saying, hey, we don't want all these new people being able to vote in our country, our newly fought for, now created country. We don't like these people that just moved here and now are being able to vote. We don't like that. We don't like that. So we're going to raise the voting threshold to 14 years. We're going to deport these people. We're going to pass legislation to stop that from happening. Gee, does it sound like a certain moment in history? So history doesn't always repeat, but it definitely echoes. Right now, and we are screaming at a tunnel, and it's literally echoing. So, putting all of that in perspective here, they're trying to suppress people from protesting. They're trying to stop people from being able to vote. And like, when you're looking at the Alien and Sedition Acts, this is what it does. This is what it does. So, let me go a little bit further here. Clearly, the Federalists saw foreigners as a deep threat to American security. As one Federalist in Congress declared, there's no need to invite hordes of wild Irishmen, nor the turbulent and disorderly of all the world to come here with a basic view to distract our tranquility. Not coincidentally, non-English ethnic groups had been among the core supporters of the Democratic Republicans in 1796. And again, that Democratic Republicans were one party, the Federalists were another party. And also, again, y'all, please keep it civil in the chat. Don't be obnoxious, okay? Again, there's certain information that's not up for debate. Information is just objective facts. Your opinion is up for debate. Make sure it's an opinion worth having, though. Just letting you know. So, the most controversial of the new laws permitting strong government control over individual actions was the Sedition Act, which prohibited public opposition to the government. Fines and imprisonment could have been used against those who write, print, utter, or publish any false, scandalous, or malicious writing against the government. Well, that's pretty subjective. What if what you're interpreting is as scandalous is just me holding you accountable? What if you interpreting me as highlighting a bribe or highlighting a massive conflict of interest, you like to say, oh, that's malicious? Well, that's very subjective. That's very, very subjective. Now, the reason why I'm pointing all of this out and putting it in context, in addition to Donald Trump trying to go after different news platforms that he doesn't like, that share information or hold him accountable or claim that it is malicious what they are doing or scandalous or somehow vilifying him, holding him accountable, claiming that they should be deplatformed, is the exact same stuff that President John Adams, the second president, did. And guess what? Part of history showed that when you do that, people are going to be like, yeah, no, you're literally violating freedom of speech. And you're like, okay, well, what other evidence do you have to put on with all of this? Did you all see the recent memorandum that was put out by the White House? Did you all see that? So, preventing abuses of the legal system in federal court. That's what he put out. Trump targets lawyers who he says file frivolous lawsuits against his administration. Well, again, when you look at this, frivolous, that's a very subjective term. Let's just, for the sake of critical thinking, replace Trump and Biden. Biden targets lawyers who he says file frivolous lawsuits against his administration. Well, my first immediate thing would be like, okay, well, what is Biden? Again, just switching Trump and Biden so you can be critical thinkers. What does Biden define as frivolous? Any efforts to hold him accountable for any sort of possible corruption? I'd be like, yeah, that's dumb. Like, no, if people are going to file a lawsuit if they think that you did something wrong, that is their freedom that's their freedom to sue. That's their freedom of speech. That is their freedom of press. So, going further there, let me actually then break this down. A new memo from President Donald Trump authorized the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the Homeland Security Secretary to sanction law firms that file lawsuits that they deem as frivolous, which is a major escalation of the intensifying assault on law firms, legal experts, and the former Justice Department officials told NBC News. And sorry, y'all, I'm still recovering from a cold, so forgive me, I'm going to blow my nose real quick. What's the fastest way to make a tissue dance? You put a little boogie in it. I think I'm funny. The presidential memorandum, which is the Preventing Abuses of the Legal System in Federal Court, also ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to recommend revoking attorneys' security clearances or terminating law firms' federal contracts if she deems their lawsuits against the administration are unreasonable or vexatious. Well, those are also very, again, subjective terms. Very subjective. What you might deem as unreasonable is my version of you holding you accountable. So, and just put this shoe on the other foot. Let's say that Biden or Kamala Harris or Barack Obama were to have said, I'm going to put out a memorandum claiming that if you try to sue me, if you try to sue the federal government, and I think that it's unreasonable, that I'm going to try and strip you of your ability to sue me. You know what Republicans would call that? They'd call that authoritarianism. They'd call that dictatorship. They'd be like, oh, what's stopping people? You're stopping the freedom of speech for people to bring a suit against you. So why is it that then Republicans do the exact same stuff? It's because they don't believe in the idea of free speech. They don't like the idea of free speech. They don't support for equal opportunity to express that free speech. Is it? I don't have any booger hanging from my nose, but good try. So you see how the hypocrisy is just right there. But see, here's the thing. For a lot of right-wingers, hypocrisy is their brand. It is what they thrive on. They don't actually care about true freedom of speech. It's only freedom of speech if it favors them. So let me actually show you the memorandum here, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper. I love all of you. I'm still trying to figure out my green screen here on YouTube. How's the live going? To all my TikTok mod friends that kind of manage the live stream, how are we doing? I see 181 people in here, which is awesome. I am so glad to have y'all here. If this is your first time viewing my live streams, then please make sure to say hello. Make sure to say hello if this is your first time here. I love all of you. We're here. You're doing great. Thank you, Cherry. Love you. So, and I actually reached out to Attorney Di, who is a lawyer friend of mine. She is a well-known TikToker as well. And I want to interview her and get her perspective, being in the legal profession, about this, and see what other information we can glean from her experience and knowledge in the field. So I want to highlight specific parts of this memo. It says in here that to address these concerns about whatever frivolous lawsuits that he claims, I hereby direct the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to seek sanctions against attorneys and law firms who engage in frivolous, unreasonable, and vexatious litigation against the United States or in matters before the executive departments and agencies in the U.S. Now pause. What is the subjective terms in here? The subjective terms: frivolous, unreasonable, vexatious. It's not saying we're going to seek sanctions against attorneys and law firms who engage in bringing lawsuits that are fake, that are based on a manipulation of evidence. No, they're saying they're not giving a specific. They're talking about using opinionated language. They're not talking about substance. So if the White House were to, let's say for the example of, like, let's say that it was Biden and he said, I'm going to seek to crack down on law firms that bring a case that is based on manufactured evidence for a political gain. Well, that would be really, really tough because they still have the freedom of speech to bring that kind of case. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, when you look at this, they're not trying to do this out of a goodness of their heart, stop whatever misleading stuff. It's only what they define as frivolous, what they define as unreasonable, what they define as vexatious. So it's very much giving freedom of speech for us. Whoop. Sorry, I'm always in my car doing these live streams, and I'm in a parking lot. It's very much giving freedom of speech for us and not freedom of speech for our opposition, for other people who disagree with us. Y'all want to know what I mean? So, let me go a little bit further here. And this is where it gets into the idea of cancel culture. So let's break this down a little bit. This is where it gets to the right does love free speech. They love free speech until you say something that disagrees with them, and then they try to deplatform you. They try to suppress you. And I'm actually gonna skip ahead to something that I think is incredibly critical. And I put this out here, and I don't think this is talked about enough. Being canceled does not violate your free speech. So being canceled, being deplatformed, does violate your free speech. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. So being canceled is, let me give you some examples of being canceled. being canceled, it's freedom of speech does not free you from criticism. Being canceled means that you're being condemned, you're being called out, you are being held accountable. If you are someone who misgenders or uses someone else's pronouns excessively with malice to try and be mean, rude, and provoke someone, and you are canceled for that, no, you still have freedom of speech to say and do those awful things. Hate speech is also freedom of speech. And yes, you then are thereby canceled. But being canceled doesn't physically violate the avenues on which you express your free speech. Y'all following me? So being canceled doesn't physically take away the route for you to share your views. So conservatives trying to cancel Target for some sort of pride merchandise doesn't stop Target from selling it. It doesn't stop them from putting out that merchandise. It doesn't stop, like, calling out conservatives for doing these things doesn't stop them from voicing those opinions. The same way that people protesting Tesla and Elon Musk calls them out, canceling them, it doesn't violate their free speech. It doesn't violate their ability to sell cars, to do what Elon Musk does on X or through his Doge. There's a difference between being canceled and being deplatformed. Leftists, progressives, liberals, Democrats, when they hold accountable conservatives for their hate speech, misgendering someone, when they are holding people accountable for their outdated and very, very like racist, sexist, homophobic views, or using the most politically correct language so that we can evolve and be inclusive, that is being canceled. That's being canceled. Conservatives whine endlessly about cancel culture, but guess what? Cancel culture doesn't deplatform. It doesn't take away the right's ability to express that free speech. They can say they're obnoxious, they're crazy, they're radically ignorant, rude stuff. They're not physically barred from saying it. But let me go to the example of deplatforming. Deplatforming does violate your free speech. It's a lot like the Alien Sedition Acts that we talked about, where the government passed saying, hey, you cannot condemn the government. That's eliminating the avenue in which these journalists back then were able to write and express views that said, yeah, we're kind of against what the government is doing right now. It's the same with Donald Trump trying to go after law firms that he disagrees with, trying to deplatform them, make them lose business, attempting to revoke the media licenses of outlets that he disagrees with. It's a lot like Elon Musk banning journalists from X that criticize him or hold him accountable. There is a difference between being canceled and being deplatformed. A lot of conservatives or right-wingers cannot understand or express or realize the difference. Progressives, leftists don't strive to take away the voice or the platform of right-wingers, but right-wingers strive to take away the platforms of progressives or leftists. Like, and it's important to see that. Are y'all following me here? Y'all following me? Do we have, how are we doing in the chat here, moderators and friends? Because I don't think that a lot of the right wing truly understands this difference. And I don't think that it's being talked about enough, that there's a difference between being canceled, using your freedom of speech to then criticize someone else. You have a freedom of speech to criticize me, to condemn me, to critique me. You have the freedom of speech to do that. I don't know what it would be about, but I mean, there are things I guess you could critique me on. I'm not going to say that I'm immune from flaws, but there's a difference between condemning someone using your free speech and trying to stop them from expressing that altogether. And what Trump administration is trying to deplatform, trying to physically stop any sort of opposition Whereas when it was the Biden administration, they would share sentiments that were saying like, yeah, conservatives, you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. You shouldn't be saying these kinds of things. Like, there's a difference between being canceled, critiquing, and holding accountable people. It doesn't physically take away the route in which they express that free speech. But being deplatformed does. Banning journalists, trying to revoke media licenses, the Alien Sedition Acts. So, the right loves to say that they are huge defenders of free speech, but are they? Because if you are a defender of free speech, you would not be supporting a president that seeks to dismantle and take down any sort of news network that publishes, utters, or say anything that holds accountable or critiques your guy. If you cared about free speech, but here's the thing, the emperor has no clothes. They don't care. They don't care about free speech. They don't care about it because what they only care about is free speech for them. For them. Look, I defend people's free speech. If you want to have the free speech to say something homophobic to me, I'm gonna say like you're a jerk. But technically you have the free speech to say so. But there's a difference between free speech and then like your free speech is not without your consequences. For instance, if you yell fire in a crowded theater and it leads to people being trampled to death, yes, your speech caused a riot that then led people to panic. People got hurt and died. Your speech has consequences. If you say something that is against a community guidelines on a social media app, you have the freedom of speech to say it, but then there are going to be consequences to that speech. No one is physically stopping you from sharing that, but if you do something that then has physical ramifications, then yes, you will face the consequences. You will pay the penalty. There is a difference between being canceled and being deplatformed. I think that we need to explore that way more. And I think it's important for us to really lean into that with this Trump administration. Because right now, they're trying to deplatform. Going back to the first thing that we reported on here in the live stream, you had a conservative member of Congress, Andy Biggs, who then said, we're going to hold a town hall, but it's only going to be for constituents that are a registered Republican in my district. Do I just need to turn off the comments? Because there's a lot of people in here. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to be reading some of y'all's comments. Yeah, so to mods in here, I still need to figure out my my YouTube situation. This is the first time a lot of obnoxious people in my YouTube live. It's kind of a little bit foreign because that happened a lot in my TikTok, but it hasn't really happened in my YouTube one. Turn comments off. Okay, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. And I also want to point out one thing. This space, I have the right, if I want to, turn off comments. I do. It's my page. It's my page. I have the right to turn off comments if I want to. That's it. Now, I don't think I'm going to do it, but I have the right to actually do that. Let's talk about the paradox of free speech. I actually want to bring this up really quickly. Really quickly. Do you all know what the paradox of free speech is? The paradox of free speech says, well, the paradox of free speech is a philosophical concept suggesting that a society that extends free speech to those who are against free speech risks enabling the eventual dominance of censorship, thereby undermining the very principle of free speech. So if conservatives like to say, oh my God, I'm so much for free speech, and then they literally go through and use their free speech to stifle other people's, to try and deplatform other people's, then no, you do not care about free speech. You don't care about it at all. It should be politically ending his career that Donald Trump is advocating for certain media companies to lose their license. That is him advocating for deplatforming. That is, you are using your free speech to take away someone else's. That is you using free speech to take away someone else's. You don't believe in free speech if you actually believe in that kind of deplatforming. So it's important to understand that. Now, there's a difference. There's a difference between, again, being canceled and being deplatformed. When a progressive person calls out conservatives for using the wrong pronouns, and that person, that conservative, uses them maliciously, and you are being canceled for that, then yes, you are being condemned, critiqued. That's not being deplatformed. Being deplatformed is when you do not have the ability to share that. But let's also point out something. Make sure that your opinions are worth having. Make sure that your opinions are worth having. Let's talk about that. If you are so dedicated to free speech in order to spew hate, then what is the point of your free speech? Like, if you're someone that is one of these free speech mavericks that's like, oh yeah, free speech, and you want to use your free speech to spread hate, okay, sure, you can do that, but should you? Should you? Should you? Should you use your free speech to literally just try and spew hatred? So, like, an example is when some sort of conservative constantly is trying to misgender someone, constantly trying to dead name someone, spread fear about someone else's existence. Like, and that is really, really key and crucial. To all the people that are like these rage commenters, I just want to point out here, if you're a quiet listener and you enjoy this live stream, just comment yes. Because I want to point out one psychological process that's happening in the comments here. There's a lot of projection. Do you all know what projection means? There's a lot of projection from the right, where they are doing the exact same things that they actually claim to be condemning. And that happens a lot. As soon as any sort of independent, progressive, or leftist specifically highlights the psychological process that these people undergo, they feel cornered. They feel like they have to actually say, no, you! No, you! No, you! That's their immediate gut reaction, because that's what Fox News has trained them to do. That's what Fox News has trained them to do. Think critically for just a modicum of a second. Just a modicum of a second. This is your chance to have a growth moment. This is your chance to have a growth moment and join us. It is so important. It's so important to understand that. So, I love all of you. I want to do a brief little overview and then I'm going to end the live stream here. So, again, starting from the absolute beginning. A lot of conservatives do not like free speech. Like, just answer this. If conservatives supported free speech, why are they supporting someone like Donald Trump that wants to revoke the media like news networks that report things he dislikes? Just put the shoe on the other foot for just a hot second. Just a hot second. Let's say Barack Obama were to try and take down Fox News for critiquing him on one thing. That would be crazy. That would be wrong. Look, Fox spews a lot of misinformation. The biggest example is the whole 2020 election. That's why they were sued for defamation. Now, Fox should not be sued or be deplatformed for spewing hate speech. They shouldn't. Technically, they're protected by the First Amendment. Does that make them Does that make them awful people? Yes. Yes. Hate speech is protected by our notion of free speech. But should you say it? No. Should you use your free speech to spew hate? No. Technically, is it allowed by our Constitution? Yeah. But again, just imagine if Biden were to, or Obama were to say, we are going to go after news networks that report things that we don't like. Just imagine, conservatives would literally have their brains explode. And look, they wouldn't be wrong. It's awful if you have any sort of political figure go after a news outlet or media outlet that reports something they disagree with. Doesn't matter the political ramifications on either side. And if you have that belief, then great, we're on the same page. So why is it that then you constantly aim to, you are endlessly supporting someone who does that exact same thing? This is your moment to overcome this idea of partisanship. Partisanship has this grip on so many of these right-leaning people. You can't not cheer for your sports team. Free yourself from this sports team of blue, red, doesn't matter. Free yourself from that. Look at the actual raw, information that is there. And you'll see. So just imagine for just a hot second. Ooh, hold on. If a Democrat were to have done this, let's say that a Democrat holds a town hall, advertises a town hall, and then screens people at the door. Republicans would have a field day. And I wouldn't blame them. That's crazy. So why is it permissible on the other side? It's because it's very much heads I win, tails you lose mentality. Heads I win, tails you lose. Hold on, I need a sip of coffee. It's like trying to play Monopoly with a 4-year-old. And that 4-year-old changes the rules every turn to benefit them. You land on their hotels, you pay twice. They land on yours, they only pay 50%. Like, that's where there is this difference in the execution of the rules. So just imagine, if Democrats did a modicum, a tiny bit of anything that conservatives did, Republicans would lose their minds. And y'all know it. See, and y'all know it, but you also pretend to not. So just putting it in perspective, if Democrats were to have done this, you would never hear the end of it. And look, they should be held accountable for doing it. They were like, please be advised, tonight's town hall is a private event. I've reminded that only members of the Republican Party are admitted into the venue. Then why advertise it as a town hall? But again, it gets to the point. Please don't spam the chat. It's really annoying. Let's see. Oh, I can add people as moderators. Hold on, let me do that. Let's see. Add as moderator. Can manage block where cool. Hold on, to all of my mod friends on TikTok, quickly comment something so I can help mod you. Yeah, I believe I just did, Joanna. I just did. Yeah, and by the way, dead naming, please don't do it. It's just obnoxious. It's obnoxious. Yes, you have the freedom of speech to dead name people. Yes, you do. But should you? Should you? If your coworker goes by Liz and you constantly call them Elizabeth to be obnoxious, sure, you have the freedom of speech to say that. But should you? They've asked you to call them Liz instead of Elizabeth, and you keep doing that. Dead naming, for those people who truly do not know, dead naming is when someone who is typically trans or non-binary requests that you call them by their preferred name. And instead, you constantly call them by the name that they do not identify with. So dead naming were to be if I were to transition and then go by a different name, you called me by the original name that I tried to transition from. It's just about respect. Truly about respect. And if you're using your freedom of speech to harass other people, yes, you have the freedom of speech to do that, but should you? And often those are the same people who claim to be good-hearted Christian conservatives. Anyone who uses their free speech to harass others, yes, you have the freedom of speech to do that. But should you? If you use your freedom of speech to say something homophobic, sure, you're constitutionally protected. But does that make you a jerk? Yeah. Yeah. Don't claim to be all high and mighty and moral. So, and that's just also, that's just really, really important to understand that nuance there. I'm trying to go through and add some of my friends from TikTok as moderators in here. So, anyway, but again, there's a difference. There's a difference in canceling and deplatforming. There's a difference. A lot of these right-wing politicians are trying to deplatform. They're trying to deplatform. Donald Trump going after CBS, ABC, 60 Minutes, news outlets that he doesn't like because they share an opinion that he disagrees with. Trying to revoke their media licenses. That is deplatforming their freedom of speech. That is cutting off the oxygen in which they rely on. Now, if Donald Trump were to post on his Truth Social that they are flawed news networks, they are not worth listening to, that's his freedom of speech. He has the right to say that kind of stuff. Does that mean should he? But you can say those kinds of things, but as soon as he starts saying, now I want to revoke their licenses because they're saying things I don't like. Think of it like this. You're at work and you're around a conference table and your coworker, who you often disagree with, shares an opinion on a strategy moving forward on some initiative. And you use your power at the table